What's up, everybody? And today we're talking about Punisher, One Last Kill. So, I love anti-heroes. So when they were saying, "Oh, we're doing a Punisher special presentation," I was like, "All right, cool. I'm in. I hope it's an hour long." It's not. It's like 40 minutes. But I was like, "All right, cool. Let me check this out. Let's see." Because I remember a lot of people were like hyping up that John Bernthal actually helped write this. So I was like, "Okay, cool. He's been the character for a while now. He had the 2 seasons, and then him and being in Daredevil twice. It's like, all right, let's see what he brings to the table. Granted, big grain of salt for me. I'm kind of like out of my interests on Marvel stuff, like in terms of being like super hyped for anything anymore. And you never know what you're gonna get from Marvel nowadays, right? So I was like, okay, let me just temper my expectations, go in and see how I'm feeling. And I gotta say, I had a good time. I'm gonna start off spoiler free, right? So I think what's really great about this special presentation is we see where Punisher is currently at when when we're meeting him in this, right? He's not in a good place, and I kind of like seeing like what he's dealing with and just like how he's trying to like navigate the things that he's going through mentally. And we see the part of the city that he's living in, and this is the part where it is just like good and bad, right? I think it's good because it's like, okay, yeah, this part of the city needs to be punished. I think it's bad because classic MCU of like everybody and their mama's in New York. And because everybody and their mama's in New York, when you see something crazy happening, you're just like, where was anyone else? Or is anyone else going to bring up this thing? Probably not. But then why do we keep putting things in New York when there's so many heroes in New York? This has that problem for sure. But I like the action. What I like about the Punisher's fighting style in particular is he feels grounded. Even though there are humans in the MCU, when you watch someone like Black Widow or Hawkeye do their thing, there is still a bit of like borderline superhumanish things, or like some sort of like stylistic thing. Hawkeye with the strict arrows. Black Widow's usually doing like a Hurricane Rana, and then she's like using some sort of gadget or whatever. This just feels like a dude who's trained, in some hand-to-hand combat and guns. So, and has seen like, actual combat. So when he's doing his thing, it's like, okay, this feels like, when we say grounded hero, this feels grounded, like even more than Daredevil. Like this just feels like a dude with guns, right? And so I'm like, okay, I like that. This just feel like normal, not normal, but you know what I mean? Saying it's like, it's not too heightened. And when I was watching this, I was like, this just feels like Marvel's like, what if we did our version of like Judge Dredd or Just Dredd, and we'd made it with the Punisher? And I was like, hell yeah. So I'm watching this thing being like, this needed to just be a movie. I don't know how they didn't see this. And we're just like, let's just make it a movie. Especially like the way that it ends, I feel like it ended not abruptly, but like the story that they set up, they clearly like chopped it off. Where they're like, if you like it, when we get a part 2, where I could have easily seen this movie being like, or this presentation being an hour and a half movie, and I can see where like the final, like we get to the third act. And so that was kind of disappointing to me, because I was just like, like you had it, right? And clearly this feels like, this is like almost like a little bit of a test to see like how well it does. But I'm like, man, you could have just, the story was right there. This is a movie right there. You know what I'm saying? It feels like if you did a short film and then you like, do the rounds and you show it off, and then hopefully like someone finds it and they're like, oh, we like this, we'd like it to make it longer, and then they give you the money and you do reshoots and you make it like super long. And it's just like, man, if only we'd done that, because it's Disney and they clearly have the money for it. But yeah, I really enjoyed this. I would say in terms of like things I didn't like, there is one shot that I was just like, oof, the CG on that bad boy. The way that they dealt with some of the things that Frank was going through mentally, there was one thing I was just like, I see why you're doing this, but it also feels a little weird to me because you're like a little too hyper focused on this one thing. Maybe that's just like a thing that I had, but that's a spoiler, sorry. I think that this is clearly like it's Punisher, so clearly if you like, anti-hero, like I'm not afraid to kill somebody type thing, and it's very much, like that like manosphere energy of just like, this is guy who's just like, oh, and just like you're, going in, beating people, you got the fucking rock music playing, you know what I'm saying? Like, the vibe of Punisher if you like Punisher. It is what it is. There's one scene in particular where he like kills someone. I was just like, I see why you did this. I didn't need to be this far. I get it, I guess. Yeah, I think it's just a good I think if you like something like John Wick or Dread, or just like something where it's just like, this is a guy with a gun and he's gonna go in and he's just gonna kill a bunch of people in the name of good, like, you're gonna like this. This is fun. You're gonna want more. If that's not your vibe, this is not for you. But I feel like, honestly, if it's the Punisher, like, you should know what you're getting into. You know what I mean? Even if you watch the Daredevil show, like, it's clear, like, he's gonna pop someone in the head. You know what I'm saying? So if you don't like that stuff, I don't even know why you're here. But I'm sorry, but yeah, I feel like if you like the Punisher, if you like what he's about, and you just want to see him kick ass, and just like hang out with him for a little bit, this special presentation is for you. It's only 40 minutes. You're in, you're out. I think it leaves you wanting more. I know I definitely wanted more. I think the only issue is just like, if you don't inherently look it up, it's like, where is this in the timeline? Where is he supposed to pop up? Like, where am I supposed to, place him in all of this? But I think that's just a overall like MCU problem in general. So yeah, if that's your vibe, 100% check this out. Let me know what you think. Don't forget to subscribe. Come back when you've watched it, and we'll talk about it in the comments below. But I'm going to get into spoilers. So again, if you haven't seen this is your time to leave and then come back later. I'm going to get into spoilers in 3, 2. So in the beginning, when they were setting up Little Sicily, right, and you got those guys who like hit the dude in the back of the head and he's like bing bong or whatever or whatever he says, and it was like, this is so GTA coded. But then he takes the dog and he throws him into the street, and the dog dies. I was like, what the fuck were you doing? Like, it was a little too far. Just because I love dogs. But I was like, okay. And then you see like Frank, who's like, on his he's like out, he's depressed, right? He doesn't want to do anything. He's like out and about, and you just see the city like going crazy all around him. There's even a part where the cop car shows up and like someone's banging on it and the cop car drives away, and it's just like, is this actually happening? Is it not? But even if it is happening, like, where are the other heroes? You know what I'm saying? Where is anybody? And it's just like this crazy part of town that's just like, there's no way no one else would show up with all the shenanigans going on. So I don't know what they're trying to tell me. But putting that aside, right? I did like that Frank is dealing with, PTSD, and he's clearly depressed, right? I feel like we don't need to know too much about his backstory, because it does enough of like, family's dead, friends are dead, he feels like he has nothing left. He even sees the vision of himself being the Punisher, and he doesn't do anything about that. And to me personally, I took that of like, I've been depressed plenty of times before, where it's like, I know I should be doing something like recording videos, or just doing something to free my mind, just kind of keep busy, and instead I'm just like brain rotting in my bed. And so I took that as him being like, hey, we could be out there punishing people, doing the thing, right? And he's just like, I don't want to do anything right now. Like, I'm kind of heading out. And so we get to the part where he's ready to kill himself, and he's like thinking about his family, and then he sees his daughter who's not really there. And for me, I was like confused about why he would want to keep going when he sees his daughter and then she disappears. Maybe I'm misremembering, maybe something happens, but I feel like he just kind of like, he's like, oh, I won't do it, and then he like walks away, and then that's where he runs into the lady that's like, hey, I'll put the hit on you. And I was like, if it were me and my family, because I'm not married or have kids, but if my family died and I went to their graves, and then I was like, oh, like, one sibling, where are you? And I saw them and they disappeared, for me, that would be like, okay, well, I'm definitely leaving now, and then bang, you know what I'm saying? So I just wanted more of a reason for him to kind of be like, all right, I just saw my ghost daughter, but, I kind of need a reason to keep going. So for that part, I was like, that doesn't make sense to me. Sticking with the family, they set up like, oh, the daughter's dead, son's dead, wife's dead, and clearly they were trying to have this connection between Frank's daughter and the girl in the bodega or whatever it is, that little girl. But he just kept talking to only his daughter. I was like, okay, did he love the other two? Because clearly she's like on a high pedestal, and they're just kind of like, yeah, you're also there too. And so for me, I was just like, there should have been a little more incorporation of like him talking to all of them, and then he sees the daughter or something, or he sees like the bodega daughter, and then that reminds him of his daughter, and so he goes back and specifically talks to her or something like that. I just felt like he kept talking to only his daughter, and I was like, okay, did you love the other two? Because this is weird, bro. Moving on, right? I like the part where she's like, oh, you forgot about me, and it goes through the kills of like, yeah, he just went through and mowed down like the entire family. And sometimes it is just like, whoa, he walked in and popped him right in the head. Bada bing, bada boom. And so I love that she's like, yeah, I'm here, and I put a hit out on you, and what was it, 6:47? Everybody's gonna come for you. And I was like, that's so specific. It must be like a reference to some deep cut if you're like a Punisher fan. But my problem with this is the same problem I had with because I just did the video for They Will Kill You, and so like a bunch of other stuff like Warriors, John Wick, stuff like that, where it's just like everyone's coming for you. And I think it's so hard to show like everybody's coming for you, or like no one's safe, especially because this is only 40 minutes long. I think visually they did an interesting job. I don't know if they captured it in terms of like the actual action itself. There's in a part where like Frank's overwhelmed and it's like a street full of like 100 dudes, and he's just like, I can't, like, you know what I'm saying? Because we don't have time for that. But I did like that when he does get to the action, Frank is, I think someone counted and they said like, oh, he took out like 100 dudes. But even then, there's the part where he is on the kind of like balcony type area, and he looks out and like the whole complex just has a bunch of people running around. And for me, that was enough to be like, okay, everyone is, out to kill Frank. My problem with this is they already set up that the city is crazy. And so I'm like, so did she not send out, when she sent out the email or the text or whatever, a picture of Frank and his, like, he's at this apartment? Because I feel like it's really not hard to find him. So that part was super weird, because it was just like, I put out the location for this area, but she didn't go like, he lives here in this apartment and he looks like this. She just like, hey, you want money? Go to this area and kill a guy. And it's just like, so that part didn't make any sense to me, because I was like, I'm sure that she would have known better to do that. So you just had a bunch of people running around doing random chaos, running into random apartments, and it was just like, what? Like, why would they do that? It'd be different if, like, they all knew that Frank was a hero or something like that, and so they're causing mischief for him to come out because he doesn't want to come out even though things are going crazy or something like that. But to just have them run around and do like random shenanigans, I was just like, this doesn't make any sense. But I did like Frank kicking ass and taking names. Like I was saying in the spoiler free section, I love that he is more grounded. He doesn't have like this hyper style of like, Black Widow or like Hawkeye with his little trick arrows and stuff like that. It is just feels like a guy who is trained and knows how to use guns. I love when he like does the tactical stuff of like, okay, cool, I shot that guy, and I'm gonna brace myself up against this wall and then wait for the guy to come around the corner, boom, take him out. When he goes on the balcony and he has like the assault rifle or whatever, and he like blasts the guy and then immediately does like the pivot around to like check his perimeter. Like, I love that stuff. He feels so grounded, and it just feels like, again, just a dude. And I think that's what really makes the Punisher kind of stands out, is like, man, this isn't some like superpower radiation blah blah blah. It's just a guy with a gun who's like, I gotta get rid of the scum in this city. And I'm like, okay, cool, this is it's kind of the same reason that we like Batman. But if you're like, man, what if Batman actually killed people? I always felt like that's why the Punisher would stand out. It's just like, you want that kind of like, the city's falling apart, hyper violent, like, I have to take out people or else like there's gonna be people dying, dogs are gonna get thrown in the street, like, we gotta do something about this. That being said, there is the egregious part where he like falls off and is like CG. I thought it was full CG. Someone was saying that like, no, it was a stunt actor and they put John Bernthal's face on top of him, which is why it looked all weird. I think it looked full CG, and I was like, that looked awful. We should have done anything else but that. Also, and this is probably my fault, I watch a lot of like Corridor Digital videos, so they do like CG, and then it'll have like stunt actors on sometimes. So when Frank is throwing people off the side, instead of just having like a fake CG person fall real quick, they kept having the people like, and I'm like, oh, I can see like the strings of like them slowly falling, because you can't obviously drop a real person that fast. And I'm like, I wish we would have just done CG for that and just had like him, like, no, he is just tossing dudes off the side of the building. But this leads me into the problem of, or not the problem, but the problem and the thing that I wanted of like, I wish this was longer and really just like a movie, because you get to the part where he's, you know, finally hit the street, and then he sees the wife, or the widower at this point, and he's like, oh, should I do that? But oh no, this family's in trouble. And like, you know, do I follow my vengeance, or do I be a good person? And he chooses to be a good person. And you know, this is where we get the fight in the bodega or whatever, and he fights that Russian dude, and again he stabs him with like a pen 15 times. And this is where I was like, okay, we could have, I didn't need 15, let's give me 7 stabs, right? And they call it a day. For me, that was a little too much. Also, I think the little girl coming up and be like, you're my hero. Like, I would be like, don't get him out of here. You know what I'm saying? If I was a little kid, like, that man is scary. Like, I'm glad he saved us, but I don't want to see him anymore. So I thought that part was weird, that she was like, yay, thanks, sir. As like, there's dead bodies everywhere. Dudes bleeding out on top of the counter. And so this is where I could see again, you would get the last act of the movie of like, cool, I've cleared out this part of the city, I'm gonna become the Punisher again, and then he'll go after the wife, you know, maybe fight another group of dudes, get to the wife, and then, you know, kill her, aka one last kill, and now he's the Punisher again. But instead they didn't do that, and it just ends with him being the Punisher and going after the dude who threw the dog in the street, and you know, and now he's back to where he is. But for me, I was like, okay, so then why is it called One Last Kill if he's like murking people left and right, and you know, it doesn't feel like One Last Kill? For me, it would have made more sense for us to be an hour and a half, and for him to you know, go after the wife, because it'd be like one last kill to end that family and finally clear a huge part of the city from this you know, mafia that was kind of taking hold of it. And then we can get, you know, the allude to Frank being back and doing his thing. So that part, I was just like, I wish this was longer. But yeah, I don't feel like I'm gonna keep rambling on too long. Again, I really enjoyed this. I felt like this was basically Marvel's version of something like Dread or The Raid. So I was like, cool, I'm in. I love stuff like that. It has a few issues, and again, I wish it was longer. So I mean, I liked it, right? And I just hope we do get a sequel to this, or they just straight up just give us a movie. Like, just give me an hour and a half of Frank doing his thing, you know. Let us hang out a little bit with him, and yeah, let him just kill people. All right, let him just punish people. Let's try Punisher one more time. Even though I think he's gotten like 3 movies already. I am worried that. I think he's just gonna be a cameo in Brand New Day. I hope he isn't like too much in the movie, just because I know that they're gonna make him like the teen version, like, you know, rated T version of Punisher, and that's not what I want. Because again, the whole point, and you know, the reason that why Daredevil was like, I don't really want you to get involved, is because he kills people, right? So I'm like, please don't overdo it in Brand New Day and have him too long, because he's not going to be the person that we know. That said, I said it. All right. So let me know what you thought of this special down below. Do you think Punisher is just going to be a cameo, or will he truly be a big chunk of, or a decent chunk of Brand New Day? I think not, but that's just me. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you so much. Until next time, peace.